our soaps with natural ingredients from the earth. Ingredients like oils, plants, goat's milk, Greek yogurt, oatmeal, shea butter, and citrus. No. Turn your shower game up to 11. With the smooth lather of gold moss or the exfoliating woodsy bliss that is pine tar. Get ready to step out of the shower feeling alive. Click the link for Dr. Squatch Natural Soap. Real soap for real men. We make our...
Joe.
The following is a special presentation of iRacing on LSRTV, your home for sim racing.
Commercial is quiet AF. Or my deaf. The fight for a championship heads west to the Golden State of California. 2 races to go until we crown a champion of the 2018-2019 Dr. Squatch Pro Series presented by SESRA. Tonight, the left versus right rematch, 120 here from Sonoma Raceway. LSRTV continuing coverage here. David Schildhouse on the call, alongside with Rachel Whiteford and Justin Prince. Joe Allen working the controls tonight to bring you all the sights and sounds of the racing action. And Rachel, we look out at this road course for the second time this season. Watkins Glen earlier this year. Jeff Ward holds a 24-point lead in the championship over Spencer Preet. What does he have to do here tonight to give himself a easier breathing race next week at Auto Club?
Well, the big thing, of course, is this is a road course. It's a whole different race to drive. He's got to be on top of his stuff today, and this is not a sort of track that we know a lot of these guys are particularly good at, of course. It's one that's definitely something more leaning towards diverse drivers, and the faster guys typically have that, so we'll see. But this track could also be dependent on how people race around you. What he's going to do, he's going to race to the track, not the drivers this time.
And Justin, coming out of Irwindale 2 weeks ago, a little bit of fallout, if people remember. There was a little bit of contact between Kyle Vincent Gilbert and eventual race winner Rick Thompson. A few things changed after Irwindale last week and ISM. What can you tell us there?
Well, there is a heck of a lot that has changed to start things off here, David. Not just with the previous race, but of course with the whole entire series in of itself. Some of the ramifications from just that race alone include a lot of different storylines to get to the point. That includes situations along with Brian McRae now being basically a free agent, a part of his team owning the 35 independently. Kyle Vincent Gilbert suspended indefinitely from SESRA competition for actions detrimental to the league. He remained the owner still of Rebellion Racing for the remainder of the season. Rebellion Racing is down to the 00 and the 12, and technically the 99 as well. Ryan Dugan, you remember him? He replaces Hunter King in the 38 for his charter for Red Moon Racing and acquires the sponsorship for Top Flight computers that Kyle Vincent Gilbert had previously had. That also sees that number change to the 01 and is looking to have a good impact today in his pink machine. But of course, unfortunately due to technical problems, did not have the event for last week. In that race, it was a barn burner, to say the very least. Tire management and tire strategy reigned supreme, but in the end, Ryan Wash, with the freshest tires on the racetrack, ended up coming away with the victory. Majority of the field caught either a lap down or on 50-lap older tires.
So there you have it. Kyle Vincent Gilbert, I think the big storyline there, suspended indefinitely for his intentional wreck, his swipe under the last yellow flag at Irwindale at Rick Thompson. And the series admins wanted to come out and provide a statement for that situation as well, so I'll read it now, and I quote, "While SESRA supports and encourages the spirit of competition and the passions that arise with it, the actions of one individual at Irwindale were not reflective of our values as a league. We have addressed the situation with what we feel is an appropriate response and apologize to the rest of the competitors, Dr. Squatch Soap Company, LSRTV, and our audience. Moving forward, we will continue to strive to bring quality sim racing to Thursday nights, end quote. So there you have it. A couple storylines, like I said, coming out of Irwindale, and a second first-time winner in Ryan Wash at ISM a week ago. Some mixed results here, Rachel, but all in all, it sounds like a championship fight, and the tensions are rising, the emotions getting the better of some of these drivers, as they know there's only 2 races left, and here we are, the penultimate race of this season on the road course.
Well, the championship signs are there for you on the screen, but I actually got a different perspective last week, actually, David. I actually got to see this series from a whole different angle. I got the chance to be on board with the 76 car last week at Phoenix as his spotter. So that was a very different experience seeing SESRA from that angle. And I got to say, it was an experience. Of course, something I've done before, but it was nice to actually get to be involved in a series I'm commentating on and actually see it from that side, because the driver who was a reserve at that time was a personal friend of mine, so I was helping him out. But the points looking pretty good right now, of course. Look at that. Ward leading the way, 24 points clear of Derek Paulson, 3rd place, and Mark Arthur in 4th. Michael Cozy Jr. back in 5th. Montesi, 7th, obviously not a thing right now, of course. 8th place, Butcher Benjamin. 9th is Graves, or 8th, I guess, at this point. Ritter and McRae. So that would be your top 10, I suppose.
And it's been a long season, 18 races in the book, and of course we're not on the air a week ago to catch all the racing from ISM. Unfortunate situation, but that's the way things go sometimes in the world. But nonetheless, we've got qualifying complete, so let's take a look top to bottom the way they'll roll off here from Sonoma. Your V2 Designs Pole Award winner will be the man in 2nd place in points, Spencer Preet, to his outside, the man that he's chasing, the 9 of Jeff Ward. Row number 2 will be Michael Cozy Jr., Mark Arthur. Rick Thompson and Ashton Schleiss will make up row 3. Steve Ritter, Mike Montesi in row number 4. Brian McRae and Tyler Dugan will round out row number 5.
Yeah, row number 6, it's going to be Derek Paulson lined up alongside Jay Graves Jr. with Zachary Sprun in the 13th spot. Jason Taylor right now had a 120.286, but currently it looks to be potentially slotted even further back on the racetrack. Jason Anderson currently slotted for the 14th grid space. Fred Thompson falls back, followed by Taylor Butcher Benjamin. These are the drivers that did not record times, along with Sonny Thompson, Ryan Wash, and Matt Ridgway rounding out the drivers for today's race here at Sonoma Raceway.
We look at the Sonoma Raceway, currently going to be somewhere in the middle of May. According to the in-race timing, it's going to be around, 5 minutes till 7 in sim, so late afternoon here at Sonoma. In the middle of May. It's a nice, beautiful time of year. We're running the shoot layout, so what the Cup Series ran last year. 10-turn layout, 1.99 miles in length. It'll be 60 laps, making up the 120-mile distance. 1 set of tires in the pit, so Rachel, 60 laps. Not hard to do the math on what the prevailing strategy probably will be.
It also makes sense for a road course. 30-30 here is not bad. It's going to be pretty horrible. And I got to say, these things on a road course are a pig. After about 15 laps, they're going to feel really heavy. The brakes are going to feel really ineffective. The tyres will wheel hop towards the end of a stint. You'll see a lot of guys going deep on corners. These things really go for feeling they're pretty stiff at the best of times being a momentum car. But on road courses, they handle pretty good for the first 2 or 3. And it starts to get worse from there. That's the only way I can describe it, because they become horrible. You will be sweating behind that wheel on a road course in an Xfinity car. You'll be with sore hands. You will like your life. It will be a horrible drive for these guys, but it will be worth the racing. And one thing I definitely want to bring up before we do that, though, is if we look at Spencer Preet right now, heading up the hill through turn 1, we get to what is called turn 2 up at the top here of the hill. This corner is going to be a hot spot on lap 1. Pay attention. They're going to come up here too wide. Shenanigans going to happen. That will be definitely one of our trouble spots in the race, as well as this whole first sector, which is pretty hard, especially in these cars. It's very tight and twisty. These cars don't like rotating. The best way around here, just like the Real Cup Series, get on the curbs. This thing really turns better when you hop it.
We flash back, of course, back to Watkins Glen earlier this year. Jeff Ward was in a good position to win that race. Ended up getting into some trouble down in the inner loop with a slower car. Got some front end damage and was never competitive after that. Spencer Preet would go on to win that race. Of course, they would start 1 at 2 here today. JP, sort of irony, the way the Racing God's humor works out. Those guys on the front row, the 2 dueling for this championship.
Yeah, both of them are fairly talented, in fact, on the road course. As I mentioned earlier this season, this is a potential wild card, though. Anything can happen. All it takes is, again, with, as Rachel said, these cars handle like a pig. If you damage said pig, it becomes more like a bucking bronco of a race car, especially with suspension damage. So anything can happen. Anyone can have the strong performances. And if you're you're hoping you get some kind of luck and hope that somehow he ends off into a sand trap. But anything can happen, especially with this tight hairpin which they're about to go through as the pace car heads its way off the racetrack.
Down into the 10th and final turn, the hairpin turn here for the run down the front straightaway. Spencer Preet, Jeff Ward on the front row. Glad you're here with us for the penultimate race of this series championship. Who's going to come out of here smelling like a rose? Who's going to come out of here a stuck pig? We'll find out in 60 laps. Green flag in the air. The left first right rematch. 120 is underway. Spencer Preet gets the run up the hill. Michael Cozy Jr. battling alongside with Jeff Ward.
Good start climbing up the hillside here as we get into that troublesome turn 2 now. Field filtering through. It's a bit smaller field than we normally see. Only about 20 drivers in this field, but they got through it cleanly. Colour me impressed, I suppose. As got a guy running wide there. It's a 7 who just bites the corner. So does the 27 behind him. Both rejoined fairly safely. Bit of 3 wide back into pack there. Bit of shuffling, but everyone holds it together.
Single file out front. Jeff Ward yielded to Michael Cozy Jr. Let him go. Discretion, definitely the better part of valor there for Ward.
Oh, Jason Anderson's around, guys, after that 3 wide dive bomb. Just lost it.
He'll get back underway. Won't be the first time, I imagine, we'll see a car go off into the grass, but that's sort of the good thing here, Rachel, is a lot of runoff area, a lot of this dirt and brown grass out here of California can catch these cars, but as they go through this section, the S's, there are some tire barriers that can bring an end to your night if you get into them.
Yeah, there certainly are, and it's one of the ones you have to really worry about, and there are some pretty bad spots down here before turn 10. That's a tricky location as well. If you run wide here, you can get in the gravel there. It'll just spin you around and hard into the inside wall. Want to pay attention to. Also big hits down here. If you clip one of those tire barriers on the inside of turn 11, it is game over.
Game over indeed, as everyone still stays single file. And I was talking with Jeff Ward earlier this week, Justin, asking him what his approach was coming into tonight, and he said just has to get enough points so he can go into Auto Club with a 20-point lead. That is his margin of error that he's trying to set himself up for. He feels like he has a 20-point lead going into Auto Club next week. He's going to be breathing easy. So, you know, he was pretty fast in practice, currently running 3rd. I don't think he has to push it too hard to get that 20-point margin. Remember, he came in tonight 24 markers ahead.
I don't think he has to push too hard either at this point with the 24 markers. With that kind of margin error, as long as he finishes off in the top 5 tonight, he's in a good situation, I think. So as long as he keeps the car on the racetrack and just has fun and keeps it clean, I think he's in the best situation to have probably one of the calmer races tonight. But anything can happen for the rest of the field, though.
They come through the hairpin one more time. Let's take a tour of Sonoma Raceway, courtesy of Rachel Whiteford. We'll go on board Michael Cozy Jr. Rachel, tell the fans at home how we get around this racetrack.
Okay, so Cozy now coming across the start-finish line here. He'll get the braking in early, turning tight with the inside barrier there. The pit wall barrier keeps it tight to the inside under the bridge here. Really kind of sacrifice that corner to set up for turn 2 here across the hill. It's a big, long, climbing apex. You've got to be really up on that curve there. Diving now into the S's, take it wide, swing it in. Make sure you compromise the exit again to get yourself set up for the following section. Now towards the chute. Big braking zone downhill here. Brake early, turn it in early. Get up on the curbs there, run it wide as you can. You may even come back in over those curbs. More braking here, but not quite as severe. Flatter corner now as they come in towards this twisting backfield section now. I called the other one the S's. This is technically the actual S's here at Sonoma. Nice and easy, just grab those curbs. Big speed now as you come in towards turn number 10. This one's tricky. It looks a lot faster than it is. Get on the brakes now. Coming on the curb side. The car nicely tucked there. Big run now down towards turn 11. This one feels like it goes on forever. It's about braking down, keeping your car tight to the inside, rotate, keep the gas off in the middle, then back on the power, try not to wiggle on the exit. Through you come. Final kink here, which really should be the last corner, but it technically isn't. And across the line.
There you go. Thank you, Rachel. Appreciate the tour of Sonoma Raceway, courtesy of Michael Cozy Jr. And so, yeah, 10 turns, make it sound so easy. Just have to do that 60 laps, but as we'll probably see throughout this race, guys struggle to keep it on the tarmac, stay out of the grass. But those curbs, like you said, Rachel, really help the car turn. What is it about the curbs that helps these cars turn so much?
Well, the car itself can get a little unstable when you get to low speeds and you're heavily braking. And it's definitely something that's majorly obvious with the trucks and the cup cars, because they have, in the cup cars case, a lot of torque. In the trucks, the back end is light. Xfinity car's not quite the same. It's very stiff. And if you're using the tires to turn the car, it can actually really upset the vehicle. It can make it very, very worn, and you'll get the car turned to junk in no time. You'll rip those tires to pieces. So one of the best ways is to accidentally upset the balance of the car. By grabbing those curbs, by kind of humping the curb with the inside tires, you can shift the center of gravity of the vehicle, which actually helps it rotate easier, because now the weight's on the outside tires, turning tires, you've got more weight in the tires, and that's a principle of racing. Brakes are not there to slow you down for a corner. Brakes help transfer the weight forwards onto the steering tires, and if you had infinite weight over a tire, it could corner at any speed. So by getting on those curbs with these cars, you put weight on those outside tires, which means they can actually provide more grip suddenly. They're not sliding, which is what wears the tires, and suddenly you can turn. So it's kind of a bit of a kick to help the car move around. It looks pretty cool as well.
5 laps complete as the fight for second starting to heat up a little bit. Jeff Ward reeling in the 99 and Michael Cozy Jr. ever so slightly.
Yeah, 10th faster last time, and Cozy Jr. started to really slip and slide around and bump, actually overtop the curves on some of the corners. He's doing what Rachel was saying. The problem is, though, he's actually looking a little too aggressive on some of these corners, which in turn means he has to back off more on the apex and loses some exit speed, while Jeff Ward is keeping it much more balanced in terms of his attack on the corners and trying to save and try to figure out what his best course of action is to try and reel him back in. Cozy Jr. nearly lost the back end again. I think right now Ward's just in the case of when, not if.
Certainly a little bit of history between these two drivers. You think back to Iowa, the contact on the last lap in turns 3 and 4 that led to the win for Jeff Ward, and Cozy Jr. being left out to dry one more time. We've talked about Cozy Jr.'s great runs throughout the season, but no wins to speak of. He's come so close so many times, seemingly in position at least a handful of times, if not more, something going against him to take those wins away. And well, he sees his buddy Spencer Preet pulling away by 2.5, almost 3 seconds now, Rachel, for Michael Cozy Jr. losing a little bit of pace. Preet just looks so fast right now.
He does. He's got this thing dialed in, Spencer Preet has, as his car's just flowing, but we'll see what really happens to these guys once we get past the 15 lap mark on a run. That's where we're going to see who looks after their tyres. I want to kind of look back at a race I did here last time, which was the GT3 race, admittedly, not Cup cars or the NASCAR cars. But when you're leading at a place like this, it is such a very tyre wear heavy track, Sonoma. You've got to take a different approach as the leader of a race here, especially in these stock cars. You've got to say, okay, I'm not racing to just put as much time in front between me and second place as possible. Probably the best thing Spencer Preet could do is say, okay, I'm going to keep 1 second or 2 seconds ahead of Michael Cozy Jr. Oh, car spun to the inside there on the start-finish line. He's going to be out of the way, so no problems, but he was rejoining at the corner there. But it's one of those situations where you've got to basically say, okay, I'm going to set a 1 or 2 second gap and maintain it. You race to their front bumper, not out of your front window. You've got to make sure you just maintain that time. That way you aren't overusing your tyres, using up stuff. Because if they're racing flat out to catch you, and you just maintain that gap, you've got something spare in the bag should something happen.
Not treating his car nicely. That was the 55 of Sonny Thompson, who went around on the front stretch. Michael Cozy Jr., Jeff Ward getting by Fred Thompson as well. So those are the first 2 drivers to go a lap down. Thompson giving way down into the chute there. Turn 6 and 7 into the S's. We have time to focus on these drivers. Everybody's sort of minding their P's and Q's for the most part, but seemingly fairly spread out as well. Mark Arthur currently in 4th. Rick Thompson, the Irwindale winner, there in 5th. Let's talk about Mark Thompson. Won the pole all the way back at the first race of the year at Daytona. JP's had a sort of up and down season. A few flashes of brilliance here and there, but some bad luck to go along with that. Currently 12th in that number, or 4th in that number 12. A pretty good run here in the first 7 laps.
Yeah, decent run, and there's been some cases where he could have actually been an underdog winner. If you think back to, I believe it was in fact Kansas, where he could have ended up winning that race and was actually farther ahead on that overcut, on that major strategy for Mark Arthur. So he's shown some speed. It's just a matter in the past, I think, about 5, 6, 7 weeks, he's not been able to keep himself out of trouble and has been stuck in the midst of multiple battles where he can't get towards a battle for position in terms of a victory. It's just not been the kind of position he wants, as he's able to get the position to get by Sonny Thompson, who continues to drive that completely destroyed front bumper car.
Rick Thompson right behind Mark Arthur as this fight for 4th is pretty good. And of course, Rick Thompson, the Irwindale winner, hung on in the closing stages, dueling with Kyle Vincent Gilbert, Jeff Ward, and others to get that sort of upset underdog win for sure. A highlight of the season for the driver, the number 29, and backing it up here with a 5th place run currently at Sonoma.
It's good so far. These guys are already pushing pretty interesting. Looking right now at Ashton Slice, driver of the 19 machine there. He's catching up on the 46 here. Oh, it's a lap car. He's getting past, so no problem for him there. As comes the 16 of Ritter with him. Steve Ritter starting to catch now Slice as they're looking at the cars towards him, in front of them. Rick Thompson, Mark Arthur up there. These guys moving forwards. We'll see that again, the progression across the tyre run. So from this point forwards, the car's not feeling its best. As the one plows in there. Ryan Walsh, last week's winner, of course, at Phoenix. Not a great road course driver, and he plowed turn 11.
Hey, overshot the entry just a little bit. Ryan Walsh there currently in 8th. Looking at Tyler Dugan now, 9th place, that pink 01, the Travis Brown machine, as he'll work past the 55 of Sonny Thompson up into turn 1. Dugan created a lot of noise when we saw him at Irwindale, have himself a nice strong podium finish there. Was unsure if he was going to have a ride for ISM last week, but Travis Brown put him in the 01, I think, for the rest of the season to showcase what he could do. Currently 9th, not too bad of a run so far inside the top 10.
Yeah, he's not had the fastest pace in the road courses, but I think he's someone that, again, could make some noise throughout the entire year, throughout the various different series on the ovals, because he's got a very decent talent, a very decent skill set, I think. It's just a matter of having the right car to really showcase it in, and so far I think he's in the right kind of car. The thing is, he's a part of that middle group that's currently 3 seconds off that top 3 group at the moment.
That's an interesting point that I was looking at on the timing and scoring. Rachel, we look at these lap times. The top 3 are in a different area code altogether. They are running in the minute 15s, 2s and 3s for them. Everyone else running in the minute 16, minute 17 range. So very big separation of pace from the top 3 to everybody else.
Certainly is, and honestly, it's I hate to say it, but oval racing is one of those things where you'll see an even spread of times across the field. You'll see guys from fast to slow, and there'll be a nice kind of linear progression between those fast and slow points as to where people fit. As oh dear, looking for the breach. The 46 trying to get out of the way again after cutting a corner. But road courses, you have the guys who can road course, and you have the guys who can't road course. Then throw into that the guys who can stock car road course, and the guys who can road course again, and you have these distinct groups of can't road course, they tend to try and survive the race. Guys who know how to road course race versus guys who know how to stock car road course. And that's a whole 2 different camps again, because these cars drive like nothing you'll ever drive. They honestly, the closest thing I can give to these is the V8 Supercar. Only that has downforce. These are a garden shed on roller skates. They have tiny little brakes. Barely any geometry under there. They're rudimentary at best. But that's what makes them so fun to drive for me. I honestly love driving stock cars on road courses. They are a lot of fun because you have to handle them so much. They're not a smooth car. They require not finesse, but technique. And I think it's honestly one of the most pure forms of road course racing. You're driving a very simple machine. And that's what makes it great. And it's something Spencer Preet certainly has nailed. And if you look at that car of his, the Dr. Squatch machine has got some damage on the front right-hand side.
Yeah.
That's something to keep an eye on there, which is concerning. But also got that rather cool promo code in the back. SESRA 15 at drsquatch.com if you want to get yourself a discount.
Certainly, indeed. Big thanks, of course, to Dr. Squatch for coming on board to sponsor the series. They raised the bar for the men's grooming industry and changed the way men approach their hygiene by providing healthy, all-natural products that allow you to feel like a man and smell like a champion. Something Jeff Ward hopes to smell like after next week at Auto Club. You can use that promo code that Rachel so diligently pointed out, SESRA15 at drsquatch.com for 15% off of your first order. drsquatch.com, promo code SESRA15. So big thanks to them, and also big thanks, of course, to V2 Design. Talked about the poll winner, Spencer Preet. V2 Design partnered with Dr. Squatch Pro Series to provide a free paint scheme to each poll winner. That's traditionally been Jeff Ward since that little promo started. Victor over V2 Design is proud to share his artistic talent. Fastest driver each week here in the series. This week it was Spencer Preet. So maybe, just a maybe, next week at Auto Club we'll see a fresh paint scheme on that 00 Dr. Squatch machine.
I think so. He's got a nice car, I have to say, at the very least right now. But I'm interested to see what kind of look he will have at this point. Looking back, though, at how he developed that damage that was mentioned, though, by Rachel, I think it was just a matter of scraping against one of those tire barriers that we talked about, and in the end just damaged the right front fender. I don't think it's going to really affect his car right now, and I don't think it's going to affect his pace whatsoever.
Oh, problems!
And that's going to affect a lot of people.
Oh, Jason Anderson, Michael Cozy Jr. Oh no, down in the hairpin. That is an absolute disaster. The second place car, and of course it would be Cozy Jr., whose bad luck, he seemingly can't shake, gets hit by a spun out car in the hairpin. I can't believe it.
What? No, that looked semi-deliberate because he waited for a car to go past him, and as he sees Cozy pulling up, he just pulled forward.
I mean, I don't want to go ahead and say it was deliberate. We can speculate. No. I don't think he has any beef with Cozy Jr. per se, but just a weird circumstance there, and nonetheless, a lot of damage to the front end of Michael Cozy Jr. As he take a look at this replay, JP. Was this just an issue of him trying to pull back into traffic, not knowing who was coming, or what?
I think it was that kind of a situation for sure, because he's seen a big gap. I think he just didn't realize, whether he wasn't looking at relatives or wasn't looking to his right, that there were still two more cars before he was clear, came across the bottom of the racetrack, and ends up just pile driving him, destroying the whole left front suspension of Cozy Jr.'s car. I don't know.
Cozy here as he tries to get past Zachary Sprung as well. Already got into the back bumper through the S's. And now we'll get to his inside on the run down to the hairpin, but just a disaster of a lap, JP, for Michael Cozy Jr.
Yeah, this is an absolute disaster of a lap. He could have kept in range still of Ward, but again, that left front, his suspension's completely destroyed. It's lifting up that entire left front up, and on a road course like this, and I've seen this before in different series. Think back as well to like the East Peak Contender Series that was at one point on LSRTV. Same situation at Sonoma. The leader got suspension damage on their left or right front in that race. They went from a 10-second advantage, dropped to what turned into a no-second advantage in the final 2 laps of that race. And that was when they were the most dominant driver. Cozy Jr., competitive on road courses, this is going to be a heck of a car to even try and handle the rest of the way. My goodness.
I can't imagine the emotion being displayed by the driver of the 99 right now. And Rachel, put yourself in his shoes. How do you even explain this? How do you get past this to finish off the last 45 laps of this race?
Well, he's going to be fuming for a start because he's just had an impact with a guy who really shouldn't have pulled forwards. I mean, relative screen, guys, it's the thing. Contact there with a 46 car. Cozy's in probably a foul mood right now as he just gave no room to 46. But at the same time, it looked like the 46 moved out as well, so another tap on his car. Cozy's going to be angry. You know, he had that front impact. He's now had that side impact from a lap car. He's going to be angry at the lappers in this thing because they're not driving with all due care and attention. But then again, these are also the slow guys who can't perhaps road course, so they're hanging on the best they can and trying to stay out of the way. It's more that I don't think they can in some cases. But that car's not going to be handling great. Front impact will definitely hurt his radiator, which means temperatures could become an issue and could have engine damage.
Just the story that keeps writing itself for Michael Cozy Jr., the beleaguered driver here who just cannot buy a break in the series. And I know all he cares about is getting a win here. He wants to get that win. He feels like he should have a number of wins to his credit already. Tonight was a good opportunity, and that's going to fall by the wayside with that damage. That'll leave him one more shot at it next week. Championship night at Auto Club is once again the 27 Jason Anderson spins off the track right in front of Cozy Jr. I'm not sure if Cozy used his force push powers or something to move the 27 out of the way to not have a repeat incident there, but you got to keep your emotions in check for Cozy Jr. I don't know how he's going to do that to get around the last 45 laps or so of this race, but yikes. Just when you think it couldn't get any stranger for Michael Cozy Jr., Sonoma Raceway says, hold my beer.
Hold your wine. Remember, this is wine country, but,
Oh, right. Thank you. Thank you.
yeah,
That's a better pun.
yeah, it's been I agree with you. I think he could have at least have 2 or 3 wins if the circumstances went the right way. Even in that race in Phoenix, he was the one up towards the front on the 50-lap older tires with the rest of the field trying to go for the undercut. Mind you, there was just a couple sets of tires they could put on the cars, including the ones on set cars. That could have been the win right there. It's just not worked out, and right now, and with that damage, he is a second slower than Preet and Ward now. That's how much it's being affected right now. I don't know how much. I think he's still in a case where he can still always come away with the top 3, but I wouldn't be happy at all if I was him.
Yeah, and that's, as you take a look at the top 5 as they run right now, with Mark Arthur, Ashton Schleiss rounding out that set. For Cozy Jr., it's a win or nothing. Nothing else matters to him at this point. He just wants that win. And Rachel, when you're in that win or bust mode, when you have something like this go wrong, think about the championship implications. If that had been Jeff Ward instead of Michael Cozy Jr., what we'd be talking about right now, for Ward barely squeaked by, probably better that he was in 3rd at that point and be thanking his lucky stars for it.
Yeah, it's a tough situation, really, and it's one of those places where, honestly, having looked back at it, I think it was just an accident of circumstance in that particular corner, but it's one of these places where there's going to be a lot of accidents of circumstance in a race like this. It's a race where you've got guys who can and can't, and that will have to happen. All everyone can do is do their best, and I think they're going to be trying to do that as they go forwards, but this is definitely like Preet that has this thing in the bag. Ward 6 seconds back. Last lap is 16.062. Preet a 15.5. Half a second quicker. That's night and day on a road course.
You know, we think of the other road course race earlier this year, again, Watkins Glen, where Jeff Ward was well in control of that race for probably the first half of it until he had a similar situation to what Cozy Jr. endured here tonight. Contact with a slower car damaged the front end, and that car was just never the same. Spencer Preet drove away to a huge margin of victory. I think 15 or 16 seconds, if my memory serves correct, and he's on pace to do that again here tonight, only 17 laps in, not even a third of the way through, and he's built a 7-second lead over Jeff Ward, who doesn't have damage right now. So for Jeff Ward, is there anything he can do, Justin, to try and reel in that 0-0 short of a mistake from that driver?
I think it's going to need basically need a hope to get on a good strategy, essentially. Again, with just the one set of tires available to switch on, I don't think there's the possibility. The thing is, he's still trading best times back and forth. It's just a matter, essentially, of trying to reel him back in and trying to control it. The thing is, think back as well to the full throttle series going on. Last season, Preet was back and forth in that race with Andrew Freenach. If you're able to compete with a driver like that, who is one of the up-and-coming drivers who could potentially be on the path to, say, a Road to Pro Series qualifier route in the next couple of seasons, it's going to be tough to even touch him on the road course here alone.
A fair point. There's a lot of skill on display there. Let's look a little bit further back in this field. I'm looking at the teammate to Jeff Ward from Loud Pedal Motorsports. That's the number 5 of Derek Paulson, currently holding down that 12th position behind Tyler Dugan. Paulson pretty quiet here tonight. That's the man who came in 3rd in points, about 30 points back from Spencer Preet or so. A pretty quiet run. A little bit of front-end damage to that Ford Mustang as well, so he's been in the back of somebody, but he's soldiering on. I talked with him as well earlier this week, and he wasn't necessarily looking forward to this race, Rachel, and I think he said earlier, some guys just try and survive these. So if you're one of the drivers that's in that camp where you're just trying to survive the road course, how do you go about doing that exactly?
Yeah, well, you just got to try and hold on. This is one of those races where if you're not particularly a great road course driver, is you're looking at points, you're looking at what you could achieve for the championship. And for a lot of these guys, it's like the super speedway courses. I find those personally to be a survive and get what you can race. This is a lot the same.
That front end damage from a lap 1 incident with Ryan McRae. I understand Zachary Sprung as well, Justin, went around in the 21.
Yes, on the final turn heading towards the hairpin, ended up just taking it way too strong and ended up actually locking up the brakes, I think, knowing he was about to go off the sand trap. Instead hit the tire barrier. Took him about at least 10-15 seconds to get going. And now on top of that back end damage from the opening laps, he now has damage on the right front from hitting the tire barriers. Currently running 16th already, a lap down could fall to as much as 2 in the next few moments.
A rough night for Zachary Sprung indeed, as all the drivers who started here tonight are still running at this point. Look at the man in 10th position, number 13, that's Matt Ridgway. Pretty good run, solid run for the Ghostface Brewing machine, that Ford Mustang working through the chute right now. He's had an up and down season as well. He's had more down than up for the most part, but a strong run here at Sonoma, a third of the way through, well inside the top 10 at this point. He's got about 5 seconds or so back to the 11th place driver, so no pressure from behind. You can just sort of take it easy. And for a driver, if you're not the most comfortable at these road courses, Rachel, not having any pressure out the back certainly helps.
It does indeed, and it lets you focus on the actual race itself, which is very important to these guys. And there's a lot of difference, of course, with an oval where you're racing the track a bit, but you're mostly racing the drivers. Here, the track is your enemy. The other cars are just obstacles.
Indeed, some of them moving obstacles as Ridgway gets through the pit.
Steve Letterin, pardon me, is spun around and he's backwards on the racetrack coming out of turn number 2. And it looks like I think he lost control because he got some help from Ryan Wash. Yes, he got spun around as he tried to come back across Wash on the corner exit.
Well, we've seen some big dives into these corners from Ryan Wash, but I have to say, looking at this one, Wash had that position. Correct me if I'm wrong, Rachel, on your assessment of that, but I think Wash was there.
No, Wash was nowhere near there at all.
No.
That was last time I saw a dive bomb that big, it was a Stuka on a Royal Air Force base in the 40s. Literally, the turning point for that corner is the end of the rumble strips where 16 was. He's now starting to come across because it's his corner. He's beginning to turn in for the corner there. And Wash comes from a car length back to alongside by midway to the apex. Now, the one dive bomb that's so hard.
All right, so hold on a second. I'll look past the fact.
Toro wants a new cast member.
I'll look past my misinterpretation of the racing itself. Are you insinuating that you were alive back in the 40s?
Not even slightly.
Okay. All right.
I've watched a lot of war movies, though. I guess it could be a comparison. I mean, dive bombing kind of lost its art as a technique in the 1940s. You know, it wasn't really done afterwards.
Okay.
No, they moved on to rockets and missiles and things. I'm trying to talk about aeronautics here, but never mind. No,
race cars! So race cars!
Yes! Race cars!
That's an easy spot for Matt Ridgway. He'll jump up to the 9th position, getting past, of course, Steve Ritter, who lost all that momentum. So Ridgway up another spot as he looks out ahead and sees the driver of the 35, Brian McRae, the next driver that he will try and take that position away from. McRae working through some slow traffic right now. That's the 55 of Sonny Thompson. He'll work through down the chute. Ridgway not too far behind, trying to get past as well. It's the 86 of Jay Graves Jr. One car has retired. The number 7 of Mike Montesi has hung it up for the rest of the night. So Montesi will be done early. What do you got, JP?
Ashton Swish nearly just seen his top 5 run come to an end because he nearly hit the tire barrier and just barely saved it and kept position and also held up time for Rick Thompson. My goodness, this is getting scary for some of these cars. Just as Rachel mentioned, past lap 15, it gets very difficult for some of these drivers, though. They've been struggling since lap 3 in that hairpin tonight.
A good fight for the 5th position here. Ashton Schleiss out front. Rick Thompson, they're trying to take it from him. That Air Force Ford Mustang showing pretty good pace right now. Schleiss struggling, definitely squirrely all over the corner exit as he tries to get back to the gas. Gets out of the chute pretty decently there. As Mark Arthur would be the 3rd car sort of in this battle, about 2 seconds ahead of them right now. But Rick Thompson nice and steady. 2 very different looking race cars as they run right now, Rachel. The 19 is seemingly out of control a little bit, and Rick Thompson much more in control, very smooth.
Yeah, looking like that right now, and oh god, the 16 of Ritter. I need to replay this one. Ritter just bombed the latter part of the S's there. Now to continue this trend, apparently he missed a corner, went across the grass, and rejoins basically just after the apex, right as 2 cars are coming past him, including, oh wait, the race leader Spencer Preet, who got taken out by the 16.
I couldn't imagine what was making you make those interesting sounds as we take a look at this.
Discover me thing, you might get used to that, but I can definitely give you a replay of what happened in Steve Ritter's mind at that point. It was, oh god, oh god, oh god, no, 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 and then, oh thank god. That's literally a replay of his mind.
I think you also want to show a replay of what just happened to the 19, because remember that battle we were just showing? Ashton Slice lost it again in the hairpin. This time did a 360 and lost the spot to Thompson. So things are starting to get very dicey as the tires start to melt off some of these cars. Like physically melt off the race cars at this point, the way some of them have been driving tonight.
You know, the Ritter incident, just going back to that real quick, that reminds me of Jerry Nadeau. He started on the front row of this race many years ago when he was driving the 13 car for Marino. He missed that corner completely, went through the grass and rejoined without any contact. It was pretty exciting, but for Ashton Schleiss in the 19 continues to slide around, so that'll put Rick Thompson up to 5th and Ryan Wash up to 6th. Last week's winner in the number 1 car gains a position there, so Ashton Schleiss holding on for dear life. Maybe trying to hold on for that lap 30 mark so we can split this run in half, but the way that 19 sliding around, Rachel, I'm not sure he's going to make it.
At this point, these tires are literally slush. There's nothing left on these things. The guys who've used them up are literally begging for lap 30 so they can come in and pit. These things are trash, and I sympathize with them so much, because at this point, those cars are pigs. They're wheel hopping into every corner. The car feels like it's not even stopping or turning. It's unpleasant.
Justin, you got an update on Steve Ritter?
Yes. Going in towards one of the tighter parts of the racetrack in Sector 2, Jeff Ward gave him a little bit of help where he ended up bumping him in the back bumper and stop, where he had to stop in the middle of the racetrack. This is around, I believe it's turn number 6 on the racetrack, and ended up losing him a bunch more time. And we've talked about damage. Jeff Ward now has damage. Not as severe as his teammate and Derek Paulson right now, but it's at least some damage that's going to affect him for much of the rest of this way. He lost a second in 1.6 seconds to be exact because of that lap.
A little bit of nose damage to the Arctic Ford Mustang rather of Jeff Ward, certainly not helping his case. I'm looking at the gap. I'm looking at the lap times between he and race leader Spencer Preet. He's been reeling Preet in because that gap is down to 5.5 seconds. Preet, last time by, minute 16.3. I'm not sure if there's a little give up in the 0-0 at this point, as again, Ward, real time, looking at this timing and scoring, is bringing some time back.
Yeah, it's getting a lot closer now, and he's doing a good job with this, but it's at this point a little difficult to make sure that's going to be very effective, because the gap's still pretty big. I think to an extent as well, Preet is just biding his time. He's working through a lot of traffic, which is why you're seeing lap times differ for him, as Ward, of course, gaining some time, but could be also he's being a bit casual on his tires, perhaps going to go a few more than lap 30, just to make sure he's on good rubber towards the end as he's coming up here on the 35 car. Yep, Brian McRae's about to lap P8 at this point, so he's definitely moving forwards.
Jeff Ward about a half a second faster that last time by, 1:15.9 compared to Preet's 1:16.4 as Preet moves to the inside down into the chute of Brian McRae, gives him plenty of room there. You talk about this lap traffic now, 7 cars left on the lead lap, Justin, and in the case of Ward and Ritter, Ward just trying to make his normal entry, Ritter being a little tentative and slow with a few excursions off track. Those are the sort of things, the obstacles that these drivers are going to have to continue to navigate as we're not even halfway home.
Yeah, there's still a ways to go in this one. I don't think a lot of drivers want to keep accumulating damage like they have. It's been, for some drivers, it's been an excursion, an adventure through the Amazon rainforest, essentially, to try and take a Rachelism out of it. But at this point, if you're Jeff Ward, I understand why he'd be pushing as hard as he would. He is there, not wanting to lose time, especially starting to gain it back on Preet, especially in the past lap and a half now, cutting in a full second, in fact, this time by. You have to take it with respect, though, at the same time. Things are going to get interesting once this pit window gets towards that halfway point of the race, down to 4.3 seconds. Another lap time, 4/10 faster.
And number 9 coming alive here towards the end of this run. He'll have to contend with Brian McRae, who I imagine will give him a wide berth to get around him as he gets down to that same area where he caught Steve Ritter a few laps ago. Not quite the same distance, so I don't think it'll be any issue here. He'll come through the chute and set up for the run to the S's. It moves to the inside, hoping McRae will yield and let him go, and he certainly will. So what do you think, Rachel, if you're Spencer Preet and you're losing time to Jeff Ward here a little bit? Are you still eyeballing that lap 30, split the run in half, or are you going to stay out a little bit longer?
I think if I'm Jeff Ward, I'm probably looking at lap 32, 33. So I'm realizing I'm a little bit better on my tires towards the end of the run than Spencer Preet might be, so I'm willing some time in here. I can run this a little bit longer, balance this out and get a good run on the guy. But Preet, I think, is coming on perhaps 30, I think, at this rate. You might see that time coming down, but I think Ward might push it a few laps.
We look at the battle here for that 5th position. Ryan Wash trying to take it away from Rick Thompson as they work through the chute here. 28 laps on the board of 60. Thompson trying to hold on to that top 5. Ryan Wash has been a man we've highlighted a few times here tonight already, mostly for his dramatic entrances into the corners, I guess we could say, and a little bit of contact earlier, but nonetheless, that top flight computers machine moving on through the S's here in that 6th position. And aggression can definitely go a long way here on the road course. May not make you a whole bunch of friends, but he's made up some spots on the track.
Yeah, and he's gaining time too at the same time. I think he's starting to finally get into a rhythm, really, where he's about a full, last time by rather, he was just a couple tenths faster. But he's really being aggressive here. Nearly hit the back bumper of Thompson. Next passing zone isn't all the way until around maybe turn number 2, but I think Wash knows that he's the best at the end of this run of the racetrack right now and is trying to find any way he can to keep up the time he's been gaining. Still 2 seconds a lap off the leaders, but he's right now top 3 fastest on the racetrack right now.
I would say, judging by the way he's driven some of these corners and some of his competitors, every zone is a passing zone for Ryan Wash. You see him get a little bit squirrely on the entrance of that corner. One trying to hold on for grip for dear life right now. Wash pushing that machine as hard as he can, using a little bit of time to Rick Thompson as they set up for the run down the S's.
Yeah, pushing here as he tries to get a bit further forwards. Wash had a bit of a rough time. Some lap traffic ahead of him to handle, which we'll see how he gets through that one, but should have a fairly easy rolls side by side here. Wash goes too wide and cuts the corner there. Big plow. He's going to slow down there to handle, but yeah, the cars ahead of him looked like they were about to cause a problem, so it might have been the safest option to take some grass.
Just way too much speed through that section of the racetrack. Just trying to push it too hard. The tires just are not going to let him get away with that at this point, as we'll start lap 30 next time by for Spencer Preet, who's built that lead back up to about 5.5 seconds. So the time that he was giving back to Jeff Ward, he's seemingly refound some pace as they run about the same lap times now, JP.
Yeah, he's found a little bit more pace, I think, the question in terms of Ward right now. It's been like that throughout the entire race. I don't want to jump towards that way because anything can still happen with lap traffic for Preet's case. But I think they're in a situation where it's going to, again, I think you hit it on it before, it's going to come down to a mistake. And right now, Preet has ran what has been a near-perfect race so far. Ward, he's had his mistakes, and when he has those mistakes, he loses the time he gains at one point on back. It's going to take some luck, I think, for Ward to try and win this race. But he's right now in that points cushion, mind you, for this race as well.
He certainly doesn't mind running second to Spencer Preet, and they'll definitely put him in that 20-plus point buffer zone that he wants to have going into championship night next week at Auto Club. Talk about pit road here, Rachel. The entrance to pit road at Sonoma, pretty unique. You bail out on the run to the hairpin. You have that long, winding right-hander before you even get to the timing cone. So a lot of opportunity to make up time, but you push it too much, you get a speeding penalty, and that's going to spell disaster.
Yeah, it certainly is, and that's something to definitely keep an eye on. And speeding penalty is one thing to really watch here. You can plow in pretty hard into the entrance there for the pit road, so you've got to be very careful about it.
Here comes Preet to pit road. Jeff Ward stays out.
Yeah, I figured Ward might stay out for a couple of laps here. It's benefiting him to do that. And of course, he gets a lap lead there for him, which will help. But I actually got that wrong. The timing line is right around the corner, so you're really going to risk hitting the wall if you go in too fast to pit road.
Yeah, I certainly can. Go ahead, Justin.
I mean, back in about last season, we've seen a car drift its way through there in the Peak Antifreeze series, mind you. So it's possible to carry the speed. I don't think we'll see that today. But to really answer the question in terms of why Ward might have stayed out of course this time by, well, first off, might have the chance to have fresher tires, but two, there's a chance the fuel window could potentially, depending on which drivers there are, could extend it to maybe lap 40 around towards that point. It's a bit of a gamble, and there's a risk of losing at least a few seconds, but there's the chance to gain that time back for the final 10 laps that could become very crucial.
Preet down and away. His service complete. Nice clean pit stop. Rick Thompson, the 29, also took the opportunity to come down pit road. So the first 2 cars from the top 5 hit pit road on lap 30. Now we'll keep an eye on Jeff Ward to see if he does duck down pit road this time by. On the run down, it looks like he will indeed make that trip down pit road. So Jeff Ward 1 lap after Spencer Preet. Oh, he goes into it, smacks the outside wall with the left front. As you talked about, Rachel, you can definitely do that. Try to carry some speed to make up that deficit. He hits the wall.
No, pardon me for taking Rachel's question. I don't think it was just that. I think it was, he was around 60. I think originally he got kicked up along the right side wall, and it just ricocheted him towards that outside wall. Yeah.
Ooh,
so it ended up.
He's okay. It's not big, but it's enough.
Yeah, it's not going to be like, I think it's going to maybe just a couple seconds of damage in terms of that specific hit, but it could have been much more worse with how, if he was going like 10 miles per hour quicker, we'd be talking about a different sense of damage on the racetrack, because a lot of cars coming out. Tyler Dugan is in the grass. And coming into a lap car.
Oh, look at this little scramble. Schleiss will get through. Dugan struggling to get back underway as he had a little bit of an issue through the grass and comes back in front of traffic. The worse for the wear, everyone gets away as he's off one more time. The 55 of Sonny Thompson's around off of turn 3 on the run down to the chute. So Taylor Butcher Benjamin struggling to hold on as well. All these guys slipping and sliding. Benjamin just parks it up against the tires. A lot of chaos here on the cycle pit stops.
I kind of want to see an angle of Ward through this, because he had to dodge not just the 55 backing up across the racetrack to get out of the way of him. He's seen, of course, Butcher Benjamin right against where he was on the racing line. That, I think it was a terrifying lap. I don't think that's what he wanted to see whatsoever. And in terms of time, he cycled way further back, about 9-10 seconds at least behind where I think he wanted to be, in part because of the chaos.
Michael Cozy Jr. yet to come down pit road, so Rachel Cozy Jr. obviously not much he can do. A beat-up race car. Things went awry for him earlier in this race with the contact down at the hairpins. Just staying out front, hoping for some miracle, something to go his way. I'm not sure it's going to pan out for him, but looking at the way this might go for the exchange of pit stops, Preet gained a lot of time on Jeff Ward, and a lot of that probably for the mistake Ward made getting onto pit road.
Yeah, not the best way to do that, unfortunately, and it's going to be a difficult situation to rectify. A bit of damage, but they both got some damage, so it's not the end of the world.
Well, now I think everyone's pretty much done with their pit stops except for Michael Cozy Jr., but we can take the opportunity now that we're past halfway to look at your LSRTV Midway Race Break, brought to you by iRacing, the world's premier online racing game, with professionally organized racing from NASCAR, IndyCar, IMSA, and more. As they run on lap 33, it is Spencer Preet out in front. Jeff Ward will be second after Michael Cozy Jr. makes a stop. Cozy's currently scored in second, Jeff Ward third. Rick Thompson going to be in fourth, Mark Arthur fifth. Ryan Wash sixth, Ashton Schleiss in seventh, Tyler Dugan eighth, Ryan McRae ninth. Matt Ridgway rounds out the top 10.
Derek Polson sits in the 11th spot, 1 lap down, along with Steve Ritter, in the 12th spot. Taylor Butcher Benjamin currently is the first car 2 laps down, as he sits in 13th with Zachary Sprun and Jay Graves Jr. joining him on the same lap cycle on various parts of the racetrack. Sonny Thompson's not had a sunny race day. 4 laps down, destroyed the front end at the start and finish line away back. Has spun around multiple times, along with Fred Thompson. Fred Thompson is 5 laps down on the racetrack. The DNFs so far, Mike Montesi, Jason Anderson, your 2 DNFs. Jason Taylor did not start today's race, and those are the drivers that were intended for today's action here at Sonoma.
It's been a look at your iRacing and Midway Race Break. For more information on the wide variety of sim racing possibilities online, visit iRacing.com to sign up today. Now past the halfway point, Spencer Preet reassumes the lead. Rachel Cozy Jr. yet to pit. Jeff Ward about 8.5 seconds back from all this. So inside of 25 laps to go, give or take. Is there anything Jeff Ward can do at this point, or is he just going to be happy to run wherever he is right now?
I think Jeff Ward right now, after that bit of a bump, is going to try and do what he can, but 4 seconds, it could change, but it's unlikely. Cozy and Preet have maintained that gap, so keep an eye here on Cozy. Preet could be getting tired.
Cozy Jr. absolutely extending this run as long as he can. Yet to come down pit road, currently scored in that second spot. So eventually they'll have to yield and take service, which will hand second place back to Jeff Ward. But, you know, looking at the lap times, about 2 seconds slower a lap than Spencer Preet, slipping and sliding around. But just going for pride at this point, 35 laps in, 25 laps to go. Been a rough go for Cozy Jr., but he's out there wheeling it, hasn't given up. You got to give him credit for that.
Yeah, you absolutely have to at this point. And I don't blame him for not giving up. Anything could still happen to this race. He's going to lose a lot of time, of course, with all that. But at this point, may as well try and run it to the finish. You started the race. May as well, as long as the car is able to start the engine and hasn't exploded, may as well try and run it to the end as he comes in for his pit stop. And he looks to be around the end of the fuel run. He will be on the freshest tires on the track as a slight advantage. However, he has been a second off the pace since getting that damage.
We saw a nice little battle earlier through the S's between Ryan Wash and Mark Arthur. That fight for that 5th position. These two still going at it. Arthur in the number 12 Dr. Squatch machine. Ryan Wash in front of him. And that Top Flight Computers number 1. Sharp looking paint scheme, that cranberry and black. As they go through the chute here, not too far in front of them, 4th place driver Rick Thompson. So these three guys trying to have a little bit of a scrap here as they're at the tail end of the lead lap. 6 cars remain on the lead lap right now, Rachel, and as far back as they are, we could have even less than that by the time the checkered flag flies.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's going to be one of those ones where it runs down, especially now as people are tired. The tires have changed, and we've got a mix of different tire compounds, so it's going to be interesting towards the end of this one. But the guys in front of him are performing great, and Preet's just been knocking it out of the park today.
Preet will put Mark Arthur a lap down, so that'll leave 5 cars on the lead lap. He's got Wash. Oh, look out! Steve Ritter gets a little bit of a bump from Rick Thompson. Now Ryan Wash gets into him. They're all around off of the hairpin.
What in the world was that? I think that was, again, dive bomb. I think Ritter was not expecting Thompson to try and go to the inside of the time and ends up pays the price. Thompson ends up hitting too much of the gas going down to the first gear. And Ryan Wash becomes just an unfortunate bystander with Ritter basically being stopped around the track. And Ritter, again, I think he might have spun the tires. Yeah, he was trying to get back in the gas and ended up spinning in front of Wash to collect all of that. So calamity corner and then some right there. It's all drivers lose time. Arthur up to 4th, first car a lap down because of that chaos.
And you saw
29 had his line there. I'm not sure why he spun afterwards, but the 29, that was his corner.
I mean, don't forget, Rachel, that some drivers too shift down to his lowest first gear. There's a chance that you actually spin the tires when you get back on the gas. That, I think, was the case there for both Thompson rather, as well as Ritter there, when both of them, when they went to get back on the gas, and ended up shifting them both towards the right, which can happen. Seen it happen on ovals after spins. We've seen it happen there.
A interesting situation nonetheless. A tough night gets a little bit tougher for Steve Ritter. And Rachel, I think, as you were saying, that was Rick Thompson's corner to make. Again, he was 1 lap down compared to Ritter being 2 laps down. Something you have to be aware of is who's on your lap, and giving away a little bit of courtesy on the racetrack goes a long way, and that courtesy was not extended. And around went 3 cars as Ritter tried to go back across the track. Just a messy situation. We look at Arthur and Wash one more time going at it here, battling for that 4th spot and to be the first car lap down.
Yeah, not like being the first car lap down matches on a road course, so yeah, just an unfortunate situation there, but a complete mess. But these guys are getting tired.
Now they're getting tired, and it shows. The awareness goes down from behind the wheel of what's happening around you. And, you know, that survival mentality kicks in. These guys have been having to deal with slower cars all race long. I've been keeping an eye on comms. I've seen the administrative staff here at SESRA flipping the switch from time to time, if you will say, for the in-game communication between all the drivers. And I think it's related to every time something goes wrong on the racetrack. Emotions running high here, JP.
Yeah, at this point, yeah, if there was a warning before today's race to basically not let the emotions go toward driver-to-driver communications, and tonight it's been off and on, to say the least, with how the lap traffic has been, how different the skill levels have been. to the point where you have cars that are either running 114s, like even Cozy Jr.'s found his way back to, drivers who are in the going down to the 117s, 118s after a couple laps, or drivers that have spun every 3 laps and just trying to have fun while also nearly flipping their cars. That can really draw a lot of people's tempers when you have those different skill sets clash together to the point where you have the drivers just trying to recover. Meanwhile, you have the drivers coming behind saying, why is this driver stopped on the side of the road? I don't want to have any more trouble. No insult intended there.
It's fair play, fair questions to ask as Jeff Ward looks at the back bumper of Mark Arthur right now. So that second place, Jeff Ward trying to get past 4th place, 1 lap down Mark Arthur, and he will do so down into the hairpin here. Michael Cozy Jr. did pit about 3 laps ago to take his round of service, and he will fall back to the 3rd spot, the last car on the lead lap, as everything seemingly has calmed down. And some tense moments, Rachel, as you get into these situations, those different paces, like Justin was saying, 4 seconds a lap differential between some of these guys. That's huge, especially on a track like this, and there's really nowhere to hide.
Arthur's off the track, pardon me, David.
Off the track, and he'll resume, but when you see these big differentials in pace trying to work through traffic, there's not a lot of places these guys can just roll over and hide. You catch a guy in a corner, what can you do?
You're gonna have to sit behind him. It's the only thing you can do that's safe. And I mean, like, these guys don't road course race in these cars very often, and a lot of them, like I say, have not done road course racing. There's etiquette to follow, and if you're stuck behind someone, do it, because there's no way you can force your way through them. And these aren't nimble GT cars where you could shove it up the inside and dive bomb somebody and make it stick. And again, there's also limited visibility to the right-hand side of the car for these drivers, so when you chuck it up the inside on a right-hand corner, and this is a clockwise track, yeah, that's not going to work. They ain't going to see you coming.
I've already seen plenty of instances of that already tonight. I'm sure we'll see more of it as we get into the final 20 laps here. Spencer Preet will begin at lap number 41 with a 5.8 second lead over Jeff Ward right now, and he's been the man in control, seemingly holding his own destiny at this point. If he can just complete 20 more laps, he's going to have himself another checkered flag, number 7, I believe, if he does complete the feat.
Yeah, and Preet's been able to win a lot of races, yes. The thing is, though, and what Ward has shown a lot of skill in, is point racing. And while Ward, of course, has gone into victory lane around the same clip, he's just been able to be up there more consistent, I think, especially with some of the dates when you look at some of the points totals, where to look back at, say, track races like Charlotte, 22 points for Preet in that race game. That was a race Ward won. Preet had his struggle of a race at Iowa, for example, only 15 points. Guess who won that race with the controversial finish? So whenever not only Ward has been a bit of a struggle, he's been able to still run towards the front, just in the top 10 or inside the top 5. He's taken advantage of every single time, I think, when Preet's had trouble himself, which has lost him a ton of the ground.
I think the lows have been lower for Spencer Preet when he's had them than for Jeff Ward. And I agree with you fully, and he'll point to that Iowa race as really what made the huge gap that he's been facing for the last 5 or 6 weeks since that race. I think he was within 2 or 3 points at that point in the season and had an absolutely disastrous race at Iowa. And of course, Jeff Ward did go on to win, as you said, and jump back up to 30-something points for a cushion, and Preet's pecked away at it a little bit here and there. But Jeff Ward's just been absolutely top 5-ing, top 3, really, them to death, and that's really been his strategy, a good strategy at that. And looking at the timing and scoring again, that lead shrinking just a little bit, 5.6 seconds, 5.3 seconds as they run, Rachel. So Ward, again, that second half of the run strength coming back to the number 9.
Yeah, absolutely, and the 9 going to do what he can here, see if we can pull some forwards, but we've got not too many laps remaining, 18 laps left on the books, and 5 seconds, is it possible? Yes, but there's slow traffic ahead of the 9 to keep an eye on. He'll have to really pay attention to that as Paulson gives way.
Always good when you come up on a teammate. You don't expect too much of a challenge there, and Paulson happily moves over for Ward. So looking out in front of Ward, the next car that he's going to catch is Zachary Sprung, who's sort of going through 1 and 1A or 2, whatever you want to call it, right-hander at the top of the hill. And then Spencer Preet will be the next car. So just a slower car, Zachary Sprung between Ward and Preet, as that gap continues to shrink ever so slightly. Not out of the realm of possibility. Jeff Ward can catch Spencer Preet by the time we get to lap 60.
It's definitely not. I think that's where that one lap overcut might come into play, because Ward didn't lose any time, really. He, in the long run of things, he did initially be a pretty decent amount far back, was able to quickly gain it up, though, because in part, I think, where he came out with some clean space. I think that might actually help him a little bit. It's just how does he manage those said tires? If he takes away that little bit of a difference, that's going to hurt him. If Preet gets stuck in traffic or ends up burning up his equipment, that's going to help Ward. Going to be the question of who's going to manage their stuff the best here, because Ward's been getting more and more slippery, it seems, as the rubber's been laid down as the day's gone on.
And you think back to the error made on the entrance of pit road for Jeff Ward as he'll go by Sonny Thompson, or I'm sorry, that's the 46 of Fred Thompson down the front straightaway. Matt Ridgway, the next car in front of him. I think the mistake, Rachel, that Jeff Ward made getting onto pit road, smacking the outside wall, cost him a little bit of time. How much closer do you think he would actually be? He's 5 seconds back right now. Did it cost him a second? Was it less than that?
Maybe a second at most. I think he's managed to really get it back there.
As he looks to get past Ridgway down into the chute here, Ridgway will go wide and give him that racing line. Nicely done there for Ridgway, who's in the 9th spot, 2 laps down. So for Ward, who is trying to get back, remember, these guys are tied in wins coming into tonight, Justin. 6 wins apiece between Preet and Ward. A little bit of a battle within the battle for the championship, but bragging rights and ego as well. Whoever can come out of this thing with the most wins on the season, that's another nice feather to put in your cap.
It completely is a good feather to put in your cap, and drivers, of course, have a lot of feathers in various different series, and in this one, of course. So it's going to be interesting how they try and deal to see how this all works out. Again, Ward gaining a lot of time in that hairpin, but of course, that time pushes on back the other direction. Don't forget, too, there was the West Regional Championship, for the championship within the championship within a championship. As Cozy Jr. still was 4 points within that coming in. Ward 5 points back. And a half a second faster is what we're hearing for Ward last time by on those 1 lap fresher tires.
Indeed, timing and scoring would reveal that. A minute 15.4 for Spencer Preet. Minute 14.9, so a half a second better for Jeff Ward, as he's now about 4.5 seconds back. And you talked about the regional championship. Yes, Spencer Preet 4 points up on Michael Cozy Jr. Jeff Ward 1 point behind him. So Jeff Ward has swept the first 2 regional championships of this season. If he could do all 3 and win the championship, oh, what a boast that would be for him to make. A little stroke of the ego as well. But for him, it's the big championship that really matters. Everything else is just gravy on top. So 15 laps to go this time by.
Yes, that he is, and 15 to go. Is still quite a long way to go. We're now at that halfway point, really, in that run again, where these tires are starting to go off. So we're about to kick up the dirt dial yet again in this series, because this is when the tires are really mushy, they're horrible, and these cars are going to be really bad for the drivers. And holding on to them is a massive talent. The fact we've only got 3 left on the lead lap just tells you how hard these things are to drive. Time coming down there for Ward. 4 seconds now. His last lap, 14.9. He's really holding on to his time, actually. Ford really pulling it. 14.9 as well from Preet, so they're evenly matched.
Evenly matched indeed, and it's going to take more than that from Jeff Ward if he's going to continue to eat into that lead. He can't simply exchange lap times the same as Spencer Preet. That won't get him anywhere. He's got to pick up the pace, but Justin, the inherent danger of picking up the pace, you put yourself at more risk of spinning, getting loose, anything like that. And again, big picture racing, he's only going to give up a point or 2 to Spencer Preet if they finish the way they are right now. And that'll put him in his ideal buffer zone heading into Auto Club next week for championship night. So as tempting as it may be to go after Preet and get that win here tonight, not worth it in the grand scheme of things.
You're absolutely right. I think that's what he's probably thinking. Yes, the win would be nice, but at the same time, he knows that he doesn't need to absolutely get the win. If it was, say, within a 5-point battle, I think we for sure see him trying to go full out for a position, for the lead rather. But right now it's just a bit of a bit of a good luxury, to phrase it up, a good luxury to really have in terms of time. Again, 2/10 faster this time, but Sonny Thompson going to slide on and not hold up Ward as he stays off in the dirt.
Another excursion there for the driver of the 55. Been a tough go for him, 6 laps down in 15th. Again, give him credit, the Attaboy Award, for sticking with it, trying to complete all the laps that he can. Good for him in doing so, and not jumping out when the going gets tough. He's been staying out of the way as best he can. But yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head as another car gets a little bit sideways in front of Ward. That's Taylor Butcher Benjamin in the 8 at the top of the S's. It's got to make Ward's heart stop a little bit every time he sees a car in front of him go sideways, Rachel. He's just got to get through these closing laps and get to the checkered flag as Butcher Benjamin dives to the safety of the grass. Nice job there.
Oh my god, that was a big dive by Butcher Benjamin, but he gets it out of the way as Ward keeps it moving now. Preet is in sight of Ward. Look at this, 4 seconds difference. They can see each other, and that's a massive, massive. Oh, Butcher Benjamin's got no brakes left or tires as he bombed turn 11 too. I think that's more by car than by design, but coming across the line, we'll see the gap is now, and it's going to be a 4.1. He's catching him. It's going to be under 3 seconds, but under 4 seconds by the end of this lap. So Preet's definitely panicking now. Maybe he's used it all up a bit soon here, as Jeff Ward reeling him in. We're going to have a race to the finish.
That's sort of been the story of the entire season. These two have battled for a championship. Extreme ends of the same spectrum. Spencer Preet, very quick, fast pace, goes out front and leads a bunch of laps, but sometimes runs a little bit too fast, abuses his equipment, doesn't have anything left in the closing stages, whereas Jeff Ward, a little bit more steady of the hand and the foot. Not always the blazing fast laps, but just kind of sits there and takes care of his equipment and is fast at the end when it matters. And they always seem to meet up at the end. We may be setting up for a similar story here at Sonoma. Not so sure. Spencer Preet still very quick. I remember back at Watkins Glen, we were criticizing him a little bit in the closing laps because he was pushing his car so hard, but he said that he wanted to do it to put up the biggest margin of victory possible. Not sure he can worry about that here. Jeff Ward's still very quick.
I don't think he can worry about that. I think he's got to worry about Ward being quick. He's seen Preet actually get loose off the corner entry rather, into the hairpin. So I think he's noticing, okay, I got to start bringing this time back. 2/10 is 10th and a half faster rather last time by across the stripe. But he can't afford to keep on doing that. On top of that, he's still got the buffer of not having much lap traffic. By about, say, 5 laps to go, he might reach a train of at least 3 lapped cars, could be as high as 5, towards the end of the race, in fact. So I think Preet's trying to factor all of that in and hope to keep that margin just big enough to ensure that Ward can't catch up.
Ward goes around the outside of Fred Thompson, a little bit awkward there, but he gets it done nonetheless. It cost him a little bit of time, that gap jumping up just a little bit here through the S's. Spencer Preet, nice clean racetrack in front of him. Jeff Ward enjoys the same thing now. So again, as we get closer to 10 laps to go, has to be absolutely perfect here. You got to hit your marks as much as these cars are sliding around. Rachel, you said the tires are mushy, the brakes are mushy, the driver's mushy. Everything's mushy at this point in wine country, but you got to hold on and get to the end of this thing.
I know we don't actually have brake fade in iRacing, but I tell you what, after 20 laps on these things, it feels like we have brake fade in iRacing, because the real things, you've got to manage how much you use the brakes, because they will go in no time whatsoever. I mean, there are effects for the brakes, but it doesn't actually do anything to them. But like I said, in real life, they could actually overheat the brakes and they do nothing. But in this context, honestly, right now, the attitude of I'm going to try and put the biggest victory margin possible, yeah, that works at Watkins Glen, that works at ovals. It doesn't work at all at Sonoma. It doesn't work at, for example, Montreal. It's the hard tracks where you're street racing, and I do count Sonoma as almost a street circuit, even though it's not, just because of how aggressive it is and how big the curbs are. You just got to try and stay in front. I wouldn't ever say try and have the biggest margin, because that will just munch your tires.
Munch those mushy tires. Absolutely. That's the operative word of the night here tonight, as it's going to be 10 laps to go this time by for Spencer Preet. Jeff Ward absolutely attacking the curbs right now. Down through turn 9 into turn 10, the hairpin here. Preet trying to keep it steady. We'll look at the lap times this time by to see. It's sort of holding steady as I can see it right now. It seems one lap Ward's a little bit quicker than the next lap. Preet's a little bit quicker. Sort of like a match of tennis, Justin. These guys exchanging volleys of lap times.
In fact, they had just about identical. In fact, I think I went to the 4th decimal point in terms of the time, but yeah, they're serving and volleying even different spurts right now. It's again going to swing to the earlier point that I had at the start of the race and in the mid portion of the race. It's going to take some luck, I think. It's going to take some kind of mistake. Remember though, Bree is on those 1 lap older tires compared to Ward. That is the only cushion I think that Ward really has to even try and chip in some time. I think it's going to need to be an absolute mistake of some kind, or even a little bit of damage somehow with some of the traffic to have a shot, I think, for Ward to have a chance to win this one.
And Rachel, you bring up a good point. I was actually going to bring it up and forgot about it. Mushy peas, a favorite side dish.
Oh, delicious.
Absolutely fantastic. I was a little unsure of how they may go when I visited the UK last year, but I absolutely fell in love with them. Maybe mushy peas is what these drivers would be describing their tires as.
Yeah, something like that. Like I said, the car feels just like it lacks positivity. It feels soft and squishy, and like it's not going to respond to what you do. It doesn't turn into corners. It doesn't brake well. It doesn't accelerate well, and it feels like it exacerbates all the worst qualities of a car that drives like a shopping cart with a wonky wheel.
Another great analogy. We've had a shed, I believe you said earlier, now a shopping cart.
Absolutely. Although I'm going to take a quick look here at Spencer Preet, who nearly clipped the outside wall there coming out the chute. 14.972 for him. Jeff Ward 14.944. Little faster. The gap still around 4 seconds. A bit of a drift there for Jeff Ward, which would have cost him some tenths of a second in that corner. And that's always something to think about. Tenths of a second make your race and break your race. And you know what can happen with that? Dual real timing. If you go into iRacing from behind the wheel, the spotter stand, or on the top of the crew box, your best served software for iRacing timing and scoring analytics is Dual Real Timing. Get yourself a free download or the pro version today at dual-real-timing.com.
There it is, another fantastic segue into saying hello to our friends at Dual Real Timing. Big thanks to them for being the official timing and scoring software of LSRTV, as Ward is doing everything he can, pushing kind of hard. That 9 is sliding all over the racetrack, but he's still managing to hold on, running a little bit faster, a tenth faster with all that slipping and sliding than Spencer Preet.
Yeah, and people might be noticing, I think he's slowing down much more in the hairpin compared to what Preet's doing. The reason he's doing that is because he's trying to shift down to first gear, get a better launch off the corner, which again goes back to the point of potentially spinning the tires on the corner exit of the hairpin. And that might be a little bit helpful in terms of the main risk, though, is you burn up the back tires a lot while doing that, and you have the risk so much of getting loose. I think it's starting to affect the rest of his corners now. I think he's trying to go with as aggressive of the gear shift as he can on top of that, and he's starting to actually lose time because of how much he's trying to be over-aggressive to try and reach that optimal rev point while also over-pushing.
Rachel, explain if you can, and I'm sure you'll be able to because you are a genius, certified genius. Explain to us how drivers can use the gearbox and the revs to save their rear tires here at a road course like Sonoma.
Okay, well I can actually tell you that, and I'm not a genius because I don't like Apple products, but that's beside the point. One of the best techniques here, although I did fix an Apple trackpad actually because the person had batteries in the
Certified
wrong way.
genius, I knew it.
Yep, there we go. I mean, that qualifies me for the genius bar, I admit. Batteries were in the wrong way. There you go, done. No, yeah, okay, so the technique with these cars is very simple. Now, you're coming into a corner, and we'll have a quick look at Spencer Preet here. And he's into the chute now. It's a bad example. We'll take it to the next corner. So he comes in, he gets on the brakes, and as he comes off the brakes, basically changes down to the gear he wants for the corner and slams the throttle. It's that simple. It's almost while you're still braking. You come into the corner. I want to try and describe this the best way I can. You come into the corner, you start braking, you kick the throttle, and as you kick that throttle and bash the revs up, as a car goes spearing off the racetrack there. Paulson, I think. As you go,
no, that's Jay Graves Jr.
That was Jay Graves Jr. There we go. But as you go into the corner, you're braking like he is now. Brake, brake, brake. Kick the gas, downshift. And that actually helps with a bit of engine braking, actually, because now your engine's actually helping slow you down, which protects your brakes, which means you aren't necessarily using up as much tyre as you skid into the corner. But it's rather than going to the corner, braking, coming to the corner, downshifting at the midpoint and out, that is very inefficient. The car wants to slide. It's making the car very unbalanced, especially in the middle of the corner, which is why you see a lot of guys in stock cars on road courses spin out, just because they're trying to shift in the middle of the corner. If you do your braking and your shifting on the approach to the corner, the engine braking slows the car down. It's stable because it's arriving in a better gear to the corner, and you can actually power out as you reach that midpoint of the corner where other people are shifting. And it's because these cars have a dog box, they don't require a clutch, so it's literally a case of kick the gas to match the revs and shift, because you could just shift, but then you'll get massive wheel hop where the wheels are rotating at a different speed to the car's momentum down the roadway, and the tyres will skid essentially. But with this method, you're actually matching the RPM, which will be higher in a lower gear to go at the same speed, now to the movement of the vehicle, which, again, once you let those RPM off as you come into the corner, it's now braking you as well, but more progressively. Sorry for the long explanation.
And we are all now smarter after hearing that.
That was awfully long, I apologise. Trying to explain... It's weird trying to explain something that's so intuitive to me as a driver, braking in a stock car. Like, that's just how you corner. But apparently having to put it into words was hard.
No, you've done a masterful job, and I think it's an art of road course racing that most people who tune in to watch the NASCAR cars go around ovals really may not have an appreciation or understanding of. And it does play a role in the drivers who can do that. Everything that you explained, who can do that the best, are going to have the best time around the tracks here. And guys
it also
like
works in places like Gateway and some of the shorter ovals where you'll shift.
Absolutely, and that's a fantastic way to get an edge on your competition, as we're 5 laps to go now. The gap between Preet and Ward, about 4.2 seconds. I've seen a lot of people make mention. I've been seeing it myself as well. Seems Ward is a little bit quicker in some sections of the track. Preet really strong as they go through the S's, the back half of the track. Tough to say where they're their strongest as they continue to trade a lap times, but Ward a little bit faster last time by.
Yeah, some of the people are noting, of course, that it's Ward in the beginning portion of the racetrack, even in the middle, then Preet in the late portion. I have to agree that, though, with Preet being much more better off on quarter exit, taking a higher line, Ward being much more slower, I think, in that hairpin, trying to, of course, use that first gear. In turn, is not getting, I think, as best of the launch off, and that's losing him a couple tenths off of that said corner. Still a bit faster this time. All of a sudden, Preet's backed off big time. He only ran a 1:15.3.50. Still in the 1:14s was Ward, surprisingly, and now he has to deal with Derek Paulson, the teammate, of course, of Jeff Ward, who spun out in the middle of the hairpin last time up.
That gap coming down just a little bit, about hovering around 4 seconds right now. As Ward continues to try and creep in, but even at this pace, Rachel, he's not going to get there. He's running out of time. 4 laps to go, 3 laps to go next time by. Just not enough oomph for that 9 to close that gap.
Not really at the moment now, but I think there's still some... Well, no, 3 laps to go. It's not going to happen, but it's definitely something that will actually happen if you have 10 more laps.
You might want to check that, because there's 2-lap cars now being held up because McRae went off the track, and this might be what Ward might be waiting for.
They go side by side. Ashton Schleiss going inside of Brian McRae through the hairpin. Spencer Preet gets a good look at it, so how does he navigate past these 2 cars and hold up that gap? We've seen crazy things break out at the end of these races. Spencer Preet has seen a win, I think, back to Las Vegas when he was battling Michael Cozy Jr. The 2 of them collided with 2 laps to go. Jeff Ward will go on to win that race. Preet gets by McRae, will set his sights on Schleiss. Really losing a little bit of time, though. Jeff Ward 3.5 seconds back.
Yeah, he really got held up there, up the hill that time. But Ward's going to have to potentially deal with the same situation if he reaches him at the wrong spot. He gained about 4 tenths around that because of that time. How does he manage is the question. How does Schleiss handle it? From there on out, it's clear sailing from Preet, depending on if the rest of the drivers can stay on the racetrack.
Preet going through the S's on the back bumper of Ashton Schleiss. It'll be 2 laps to go. This time by Preet down to the left of Schleiss. Schleiss out of the gas and lets him go. Nicely done there. Looking to see how Jeff Ward will navigate getting by Brian McRae here in turn number 9. Do so cleanly, not giving too much time. Looking at the gap, 3.2 seconds as they go down into the hairpin. 2 laps to go this time by.
And now Ward's going to reach Schleiss potentially in the worst possible spot. Actually spun the left rear tire again. but there's still a lot of time. Though I think the gap might be too much. It's going to take needing something to happen. He gained 7/10 because of the traffic last time by, but he still has to deal with Slice. And now Tyler Dugan is starting to really slow up and might be a potential factor towards the checker flag.
Something to keep an eye on as they work through these cars continuously. Rachel, for Spencer Preet, knowing he's got a win in his sight at this point, but he knows that the man he's chasing in points is right behind him. What do you think's going through his head? That it's going to be great to win if he can get it done, but big picture, not really going to do a whole lot.
No, it's not going to make a difference at this point. I think it's basically game over. 3 seconds, one lap after this one. Good race, good win, Spencer Preet, as long as he doesn't screw this up.
Jeff Ward navigating behind Ashton Slice. He'll move by him deftly through the S's there, so no cars between the top two at this point, but a gap of 3 seconds. Go ahead, Justin.
I was just about to say, I thought we were just about to have trouble because Zachary Sprun had stopped right along the path of Spencer Preet before pulling out the tow truck. That could have been controversial like crazy. White flag now in the air. Gap is still around 3 seconds.
One more lap around Sonoma Raceway for Spencer Preet, chasing win number 7 on the season. But the man he's been chasing all season long, about 3 seconds behind him and closing up the hill. Might win the battle, but the war rages on. It'll continue on to next week at Auto Club, of course, but a little bit of positive momentum possibly for Preet. He can hold on for this checkered flag. Rachel, they come to you through the chute one more time.
They certainly do indeed. Spencer Preet once more through that chute. Don't run too wide or you're going to eat tyre barrier, which wouldn't do great for your race, of course, but comes down now into his probably best section. Yes, is the fastest part he's had in this latter run on the tyres, and I guarantee he's looking forward to just parking his car once he gets across the line and stretching his hands and trying to get that kind of clamped look of his hands, the claw appearance out of his fingers, because they'll be absolutely sore from wheeling this car. It's such a fantastic way around this racetrack. Spencer Preet from pole to the victory tonight after one more corner. I shouldn't jinx him. He could plow into the tyres here and I would have to eat my work.
Eat him like a can of mushy peas, but nonetheless, off the hairpin he will come. Spencer Preet, for the 7th time this season, will come across the line first. He will win the left versus right rematch 120. Jeff Ward 2.7 seconds back in second place. Michael Cozy Jr. still on track. He will be looking for a third, but he is about a half a lap from doing so, so we'll keep an eye on all of this behind him. That being the last car on the lead lap, some positional battles behind them. Justin, anything brewing that you want to keep an eye on here as they run to the line?
Well, at this point, a lot of the drivers were spaced out, but Rick Thompson's still not out of the woods yet. For the battle for 4th spot, he's still up in front by a lot. Arthur sends it in deep, but again, too much of a gap for Thompson to be able to hold on for the 4th spot. Arthur 5th, but it was a heck of a race to say the least. I have to say, though, I think if there was another 2 laps, we might be seeing Ward battling for the race victory because he really showed that difference in tires. I kind of wonder if he might have, if he stayed out an extra lap and pit on lap 32, on lap 33, we might be talking about a different race because he showed the pace as Cozy Jr. goes for flight.
Launch control has cleared the 99 to go into orbit, and there he goes, finishing 3rd. So we'll step aside for a quick commercial break, come back on the other side and give you the full field rundown to see where your favorite driver finished. You're watching the Dr. Squatch Pro Series presented by SESRA right here on LSRTV.
For real men. During the First World War, big soap started taking out all the natural ingredients to make production cheaper and faster. And they replaced all the natural stuff with chemicals. Chemicals like sodium lauryl sulfate, parabens, and dioxane. Chemicals linked to depression, liver damage, cancer, and low sperm count. And worst of all, dry skin. Oh. Your poor balls, all dry, empty, and sad. Click the link for Dr. Squatch Natural Soap. Real soap for real men.
And welcome back to the Sonoma Raceway, the left versus right rematch, 120 in the books. Let's take a look at the unofficial results. Spencer Preet, the first man back to the flag. He gets the win, his 7th of the season. Jeff Ward, very important second place finish to maintain that plus 20 points gap heading into championship night next week at Auto Club. Michael Cozy Jr. survives early controversial contact in the hairpin to finish 3rd, the last car on the lead lap. Rick Thompson, 4th. Mark Arthur rounds out the top 5. Ryan Wash in 6th. Ashton Schley, 7th, 2 laps down, along with Matt Ridgway in 8th. Tyler Dugan, 9th. And Brian McRae, 3 laps down in 10th.
Derek Paulson came away with the 11th spot, 3 laps down. Taylor Butcher Benjamin had, I think, the quote of the night. He was glad this race was over, coming away 12th and a wild one. Jay Graves Jr. finished 4 laps down in 13th, with Zachary Sprun finishing as a DNF 14th overall after crashing towards the second and last lap. Fred Thompson, he was still on the racetrack. He finished 15th, 9 laps down where he started, but Sonny Thompson finished 10 laps down, crashing on a rate of an average about 3 laps, unfortunately, for him in the 55. Steve Ritter, Mike Montesi, and Jason Anderson joined the DNF club. Kevin Dye was in race control all night. Jason Taylor did not start tonight's event.
That's been a look at your full field rundown, and without any further ado, let's talk to tonight's winner. Pretty much led this entire thing, the driver of the 0-0 in victory lane, Spencer Preet. You put a beating on him tonight. How good did it feel to win this race?
Feels good to be back up here, David. I'm gonna be honest with you. Yeah, I felt pretty good. Sonoma's one of my better tracks. I mean, I like to consider myself a pretty good road course racer, at least when it comes to the stock cars. And yeah, I mean, I wasn't too sure. Honestly, I guess I underestimated Jeff's road course abilities. I really wasn't thinking he'd be as much of a factor tonight as he was. Watkins Glen, in terms of like driver's track, it's not really the same thing. This track can really beat you up, so I underestimated a little bit, and I was lucky to get the pole and jump out to a good start and kind of keep out of trouble, and just had to be patient navigating the lap cars and really minimize mistakes. I think I really made about 2 mistakes all race, and they're very, very minor. So yeah, feels good. Make up 1 point in the championship, and honestly, at this point, if we don't get, unless we get a field of 30 next week, there's no chance that I can win the championship. So it's nice to win, it's nice to get back, but yeah, that's really all it is at this point. It's just a win, another win for the pride, I guess.
Well, you take the lead in individual wins over Jeff Ward. Now you have 7. He still has 6. So a little consolation there, and possibly a regional championship in sight for you as well. You lead 57 laps out of 60 here, and we talked all race long about how you were navigating the traffic, seemingly trouble around every corner. What was it about Sonoma here tonight that was giving people fits?
Well, this kind of just happens in any league. I've been in a lot of leagues, and I've never been in a road course league. There's always a very big drop off. There's the guys that you can tell have a little bit of a background or a little bit of experience on the roadside, and then there's the guys that you can tell are like very, very uncomfortable and just can never really wrap their heads around it. And that's kind of how it is. I mean, that's kind of how it is in real life too. When you see the Cup Series go here, there's the guys that you're just scratching your head at how far off they are, and that's the biggest part in a race like this is some of those guys you're going to be lapping multiple times, so it's good to kind of pick your spots and try to strategically catch them in easier parts of the track to lap than others. You don't want to catch somebody in the middle of the S's and have to check up, or there's some trouble spots. So that was really the biggest thing, just kind of picking my spots and making sure that I wasn't catching them and putting them in a bad spot, because like I said, when you're uncomfortable, you can start really making a lot of mistakes. So it's kind of the car who's lapping's job as well to try to pick the spot, because if you don't and you put them in a bad spot, you're putting it in their hands, and if they're not comfortable, then bad things can happen, and we saw that happen a lot tonight, and luckily I kept out of it.
Well, Spencer, you are certainly familiar with the drill by now. I'll give you the opportunity to say hello and thank you to friends, family, sponsors, and everyone else who helps you in the 00 get it done and in victory lane at Sonoma.
Just shout out to everyone on Rebellion. Big thanks to Dr. Squatch for coming on board with the SESRA and everyone that makes these races happen, keeps this league going. Big thanks to them. Shout out to Cozy. Another rough piece of luck tonight, but shout out to him, his stream, everyone watching. You guys for putting on the broadcast.
The king of the road sweeps the road course races in the 2018-2019 season. Spencer Preet, congratulations on the win. We'll look forward to seeing you next week for championship night at Auto Club.
Thank you. See you then.
Race winner Spencer Preet there. And we'll move to second place finisher Jeff Ward, who's caught up with Rachel Whiteford.
We've got Jeff Ward here, and Jeff, it was a tough race tonight. Those cars are a handful on old tyres, but you held on well, and it did look like on the older tyres you were definitely bettering Spencer somewhat.
Yeah, Rachel, drove the wheels off of it trying to get back to him there, and drove hard while also trying to be kind of on the safe side. Didn't want to spin out or get into a lap or anything like that and run our points advantage going into next week. But yeah, I think I come out of the pits. He was 9 seconds ahead. Was able to get it down to about 2 seconds there. He was probably just riding a lot of that though. But caught a couple lap cars there in a bad spot. We got into an accident there with Steve Ritter. I just flat out I missed the braking zone and hit him in the tail end, spun him out. So that probably cost us a second or two. And just all that adds up over the course of a run. Like Spencer just said, he minimized his mistakes. We had several little mistakes there, so that's probably the 2 second difference at the end of the race. But we had a pretty good car. Like I said, it's a good points night. Congrats to Spencer. He did what he had to do, and we'll go into Auto Club next week, and hopefully only about 20 people show up. But we'll see how that goes. Hopefully we'll pretty much have it in hand and be able to go out there and run hard and try to get a win. But we'll just see how it goes.
Well, hopefully it's going to go in your favour, of course. A good finish next week really puts it in the bag for you. So best of luck for that championship, of course. And hopefully you can win next week so you don't have to talk to me.
Yeah, we'll give it our best shot. Like I said, if we go in there and not too many people show up to where we wrap it up before the race even starts, and that kind of gives us the ability to go out there and run hard and not try to be conservative. So hopefully that's the case, and hopefully we'll be celebrating next week.
Fantastic. Anybody like to give a quick shout out to before you go?
Yeah, you guys there at LSRTV. I'd like to thank Dr. Squatch for coming on board this season. I'd like to thank Victor at V2 Designs for painting up my paint schemes this year. Spencer got him a Poe tonight. He was been asking about that when I was going to let him get one. So it looks like he outdid us on that one. He'll get a paint scheme going into the final race probably, so that's good for him. And just thanks to Loud Pedal Motorsports, my teammate Derek, and just friends and family.
Well, congratulations coming home today in second place. It's once again Jeff Ward.
All right, thanks guys.
Yeah, from there we'll transition to third place finisher Michael Cozy Jr. He's with Justin Prince.
Thank you very much. We joined Michael Cozy Jr. at WinVal 8820 as well, and he's been giving his thoughts on how this race went tonight. From what I've heard, not in the best of moods. Talk us through first, of course, the first question on a lot of people's minds. What your perspective was, what happened on lap 12 heading into the hairpin?
I mean, I'm sure you guys saw it. Just another bonehead in the league. That's what it is. Just happens to be the league owner. So I don't know what he was doing. I think he was already getting lapped. We were like 12 laps in. Threw it off into the hairpin and then wrecked the second time and drove into me and ruined my race. So, you know, if it wasn't him, it was going to be some other guy 10 seconds off the pace. So that's really all I got to say about it tonight. I mean, that's just ridiculous. Some of these people, I can't believe there's not a minimum speed, but some of these guys should not be running 10 seconds off the pace. It's absolutely ridiculous. It's just treacherous around here trying to do anything.
How did the car feel, if you don't mind me asking, after that? At times it looked like you were able to get better pace in the second after the pit stop, but after the hit it was about a second off the pace from what it looked like. How did that car feel afterwards?
I mean, it was bad enough. I mean, I didn't wreck it after that, but I mean, it was right there smack dab on the left front, so couldn't turn. I mean, setup was bad as it is. These things are like bricks around here. It's another bad thing about it, man. These things are horrible. So it turned even worse after that, and I could tell I was down a little bit of power too. I just didn't have the same kind of wheel spin after that. So, it didn't matter. It was slow enough. The damage was already done, and we'll just go into next week, and we'll see how we can lose that one.
Speaking of next week, that is at Auto Club Speedway, the Bookend 250 as it's called. Heard some of your thoughts about this to your viewers on your side of things. What's your perspective heading into the season finale, especially what has been a wild season, especially second half of the season for you?
Well, if I get a chance to win, I'm either going to crash or win. If anybody gets in my way, even worse than tonight or close to it, they're probably going to get wrecked. And other than that, I don't know. I probably won't even have a chance anyways. I hate Auto Club in this game, sim, whatever you want to call it. It sucks. So it ought to be pretty fun. There's a good chance I'll probably wreck or win, one of the two. So I'm going to go down swinging, and we'll see how it goes.
We'll see how it goes indeed. As David Schildhouse might say, never short of entertainment. But before we let you go, is there anyone you want to thank for being a part of what was a top 3 finish, one of the only 3 drivers to finish on the lead lap tonight?
Well, thanks to my partners, Indie Racing Images, I got, man, we're close to 50 YouTube members now, so thanks to all those guys. I don't want to sit here all night and take up the rest of the broadcast, but thanks so much to those guys. I couldn't do without them, and I really do want to get them a win at some point. If it doesn't come this season, then we'll figure out a way to win next season. I know I've got enough speed too, but thanks to my teammates. Shout out to Pre for winning, man. He's done really good this season, and it's a shame the points format's so bad that he's not even going to get a chance to get back into the championship battle. Just run a good season. They both run really good seasons, and all it took was one bad race and one bad flaw to take him out of it. So, hopefully he goes out and does really good at Auto Club, and we probably won't get enough cars for him to come back, but I don't know what it's looking like at this point, but shout out to those guys, Mark and Schleiss and Ryan, and I really appreciate those guys, and it's been fun racing with them all season, and that's really about it.
Thank you very much for the time, Michael. Congratulations on the 3rd place finish tonight.
Thanks.
And that was Michael Cozy Jr. coming away in the top 3 tonight. And what was a interesting interview, as Joe Allen would say. Allen, I should say.
Definitely one of the brighter characters in this series, Michael Cozy Jr. I really hope, this is just me speaking selfishly, and I shouldn't even do it, but I really hope he wins next week so I get a chance to interview him this season. He has been so close and a very fun guy to watch, very passionate, and that's what drives a lot of the comments. You hear the passion in his voice, Rachel. He knows tonight was a good opportunity for him to win, but just didn't play out that way, and for Spencer Preet, gets himself another win and 1 point back on Jeff Ward. But as Ward said, if they get more than 20 cars or so next week, he's got the championship in the bag before they even take that green flag.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be a great chance for him, so looking forward to see how that one goes.
That'll wrap things up for us from Sonoma. Make sure you check back in a week from tonight, next Thursday, for championship night at Auto Club Speedway. Sure to be an absolute barn burner. Michael Cozy Jr. is going to be going 150%. Jeff Ward looking to lock up a championship, and Spencer Preet trying to find a way to steal it from him. A lot of storylines will play out there, and we'll look forward to seeing you then. But for now, for our producer, Joe Allen, thanks for stepping in and helping us out. For Justin Prince and for Rachel Whiteford, I'm David Schildhouse saying congratulations for the 7th time to Spencer Preet, the winner here at Sonoma, and good night from Wine Country.
This broadcast is the copyrighted work of LSRTV and may not be rebroadcast, retranslated, or used in any form without the express written consent of Live Sim Racing LLC and iRacing.com Motorsport Simulations. LSRTV would like to thank you for your support, and we hope you enjoyed tonight's broadcast.